This is your daily briefing and you're most welcome to it. I have to tell you that I am coming to you through immense pain, but it was self-inflicted. Christmas, you have plenty of booze in the house, and what a mistake. So apparently if you have stout, about a pint of stout, and you put a shot of Bailey's and a shot of single malt in it, you create something known as an Irish car bomb. And my left foot, yeah, kaput, absolutely kaput. So if anybody has any mysterious cures for the old gout, give us a shout. Woke up 3 o'clock in the morning, boing, boing, boing. Yeah, unfortunately it was my foot. Yeah, absolute disaster. So yeah, I'm smiling through the pain. Right, so I thought we'd kick off with a little bit of player analysis, just to keep you on your toes, and perhaps timely given the kind of atmosphere. There's been a bit of this, winks and Højbjerg. So if we start off with Pierre, because he's been subject to what I'd refer to as a sort of modest campaign of disrespect. But then, I've been doing this a long time, I'm never surprised by the whims and fancies of football fans, and they tend never to be particularly flattering on those making the noise. Some Tottenham fans still to this day seem to me to not fully grasp what an important player Michael Carrick was, and this despite the fact that he went off to Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson built a dynasty of achievement around the guy. If you think that's up for debate, by the way, come at me, tell me where I've gone wrong. And I would even say that some Tottenham fans, they were critical of Modric, and again, when he went, well, he didn't score that many goals. Not everybody is Action Jackson, some people just hold the whole thing together. The Dane was actually extremely reliable against Watford. His total successful actions hit 81%, which is not unusual for the man. He's an endlessly hardworking and committed character. Another consideration with the Dane in this game against the Hornets was that he played in a mixed role of left centre midfielder and left defensive midfielder, which to me provides even further distance between Pierre and his detractors. It's also worth noting that Pierre had more attacking passes in the final third than any other player for either side. So, I'll say it again, I think the problem isn't Højbjerg. I think the problem probably isn't Oliver Skipp, but I would say it's the lack of alternatives that we have. And if you think of the berths in your average Tottenham starting 11, there are key types of player missing. So instead of suggesting that Højbjerg or Skipp or whoever are missing out on certain attributes, I'd suggest it's more to do with the positions around them and the fact that they are lacking, and their absence is, we've all witnessed it, the lack of creativity, the lack of spark. Højbjerg and a number of others, it is not their job to be, as I said to you, this Action Jackson, bayonets fixed character. It's not what they do. They do something that's a little bit more reserved and has a greater deal of subtlety to it, if you like. Fan reactions on social media, again, I'm going to have to comment because this is where the white noise comes from, and it's people who tend not to know much about football but are extremely noisy about it. And Emerson's crossing was something that came out, and there were people, and I was talking to a mate of mine who I respect enormously, and he just said, this guy's terrible. And so I went through the numbers, because I was groaning through the game. I'm not pretending that I am some greater understanding than anyone else. But his crossing was hot and cold, and the thing you have to understand here, perhaps, is that if you're going to say it's hot and cold, you can't dwell on the cold and ignore the hot, if that makes any sense. So the Brazilian had 10 failed attempts when he was trying to knock the ball in. Obviously outnumbered his 7 accurate balls in, but one cannot then decide, as I say, to strike a line through the 4 key passes that the 22-year-old did make. And for context, in respect of crossing, Emerson's success rate was 41%. Reggie was just 20%. Emerson gave the ball away about a dozen times in the Watford half, and I would have to add to, when we're discussing his hesitancy also at taking on opponents, when it comes to being a wing-back, Emerson is not a natural. But the kindest thing I think we can say is that Royal was cheap. And I think within the fan base as a whole, the perception is that, he wasn't that cheap. Well, he was cheap. He was for buttons. He was for nothing. Whilst Tottenham paid some €25 million for him, you've got to remember that it was only a few months before we signed him that Barcelona gave less than €9 million for the boy. What do you expect? There's nothing happened in the 90 days or the 60 days that he was with Barca that transformed him and multiplied his value, other than, he was from the stable of just by the skin of his teeth. So, in conclusion, Emerson was hit and miss, but one tends to get what one pays for in this life. So now we're going to talk about transfers. What I'm going to say to you, some of you are not going to like. And I would suggest that I'd posit the idea that even some of you are not going to care for the manner in which I say what I'm going to say to you. But this is for grown-ups, so if you don't like it, there's, you've got the Spectrum brothers and the other people leaping and squawking over nothing. The deal with transfer rumours is the sources need to be spot on. The alternate reality to that, the alternate scenario, is that you say, oh yeah, we're going to sign so-and-so from Real Madrid, he's amazing, getting King for virtually nothing, a fantastic deal. Oh, where'd you hear that? Well, it was on the 8A bus, and it was a little old lady upstairs on the upper deck. Your sources have to be really good, and that's why, if you don't have a credible source article or individual or whatever, you have nothing. Calcio Mercato, Exhibit A, my lord. Tanguy Ndombele has failed to solidify himself, say the Italians. Cruel translation. And probably looking for somebody to be the spine of the midfield when they lashed out €62 million, plus a further €10 million in add-ons. The Italian site says that Jose Mourinho wants him at Roma. Just don't see it. And then they go on to say, as if that there could be a door open in this tale, that the fee might be some 30 million, and the club might look for a loan with a view to buy, in order to make the deal more comfortable for all concerned. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all. I can see a loan move for Tanguy. Absolutely, I can see a loan move. I can't see who might want to loan him, but there's too much money down. Forget about all the add-ons. I think that 62. It's not a deal totaling over 70 million. That's made up. But the wages are a consideration, and he needs. If he's going to be loaned, loan players need to hit the ground running. Next up, this is one of the worst sources in Europe, but the reason I'm doing it is I'm going through it with you, so to give you the benefit of my incalculable wisdom. Fechahez is how you pronounce this, Spanish site. Tottenham are reportedly considering a shock January sweep to sign Antoine Griezmann. As Conte looks to bolster his attack, 30-year-old striker sealed a season-long move back to Atletico Madrid in the summer from Barcelona. And Diego Simeone's side possess both an option to extend a loan move by an extra year, whilst also having an obligation to buy for a mere 34 million. Again, plausible enough character. Spurs quoted 40 million. I think there's better options out there. Ben Brereton Diaz would be one. I keep mentioning his name. Knows the country, knows the language, knows the everything. Would he hit the ground running? I'd argue that he would. How much would he cost? 25 million maybe on a good day. But Griezmann, yeah, sure, great. I can't see it happening. Next up for shaving, we have John Percy in the Telegraph, who assures us that in the past summer, Tottenham Hotspur was linked to Wolverhampton Wanderers. You know who I'm going to say, Adama Traore. Spurs wanted to reunite the Spanish international with his old boss Nuno Espírito Santo, and we obviously know what happened to him. The report goes on to say that I mean, he was supposedly, the agent had put out, because this is the mini what's-his-name guy, had put out that they wanted 40 million for him, which was always pie in the sky. Suddenly he's 50% off, 20 million, Traore under contract until 2023. But the thing here, and this is the small print taketh away, 19 appearances this season. Traore has yet to score a goal or to register an assist for Wolves. And I think we're just looking at Aaron Lennon on steroids. Absolute waste of time. Lots of huff and puff. Doesn't ever achieve anything of any note. So Telegraph. Who else was it? The guy that writes for the Telegraph. I'll put a speech bubble up with his name because I can't remember. He was mumbling about it. This is, I would put money on this. I'd certainly put my dinner money on this coming from the press office at Tottenham, and saying it's the sort of dynamic purchase they're looking for. You know, when we didn't have a manager for over 70 days, and they said, you know, sort of manager, calibre we're looking for is like Gareth Southgate. All wishful thinking, should never, ever have been put into the public domain. Right, Gazzetta dello Sport. And then there we go, they're actually aggregating it from Casa Napoli. So Dejan Kulusevski, my apologies to his parents and himself if I got that wrong. One of the positions that Spurs will want to reinforce this month is in the forward group, and the 21-year-old at Juventus could be just the man, according to the Italians. But this, of course, then is completely, there's a hole in the boat immediately, as they're saying they're going to do a swap deal for Giovanni Lo Celso for the Swedish international. I don't know. Swap deals invariably don't happen. They happen a lot in the press, but not in reality. And I think, again, anybody who's going to be taking anybody on loan is going to want a player to, again, I'll use the phrase, hit the ground running. Loan deals now are a manner of structuring money. They're not actually about putting your foot in the water and testing the temperature. So, I don't know. Next up, ESPN. Do you know something? I don't have a hate on for ESPN because I quite like their production values, but the content isn't all that, and it gives me the feeling that they're throwing an awful lot of money at something but without much substance. And they say that Tottenham are pursuing AC Milan midfielder Franck Kessie, and are ready to make a lucrative offer. 25-year-old could be coming to North London. His latest deal with Milan, 6.5 million a year, but it's not good enough for the midfielder, so maybe he likes the colour of Daniel Levy's cash. I don't know. Kessie could come in on a free, so it'd just be the money. And out of all of these, I think this is possibly the most likely, just because financially there aren't any huge obstacles. And here we have possibly one of the worst sources, perhaps even worse than Fetcherhez, El Nacional, absolutely dreadful. Philippe Coutinho to Tottenham on a free. Barcelona spent 145 million back in 2018, that's all down the river, and he's on £370,000 a week. Coutinho tipped to leave, looking to crowbar him out the door. Linked with Newcastle, absolute rubbish, not worth our consideration. So when it comes to the transfers, like I say, don't get sucked in by the tambourines and the dancing girls. What's the source? Because if it's like this steaming pile of festering muck, then there's nothing to it, and it's not worth wasting your time on. Chelsea up next, first of 3 games we play against them this month. That'll be interesting, and I'll see you again before then. Good luck, keep it on.